Now it's time to discuss about Metro Exodus, which is the last game in the Metro series so far, at least when it comes to to regular games. I know there's been another game that was VR, uh, which of course I haven't played because I don't have a VR headset, and I don't know what that game is about, so I'm not gonna touch it. I'm only gonna talk about Exodus since I consider it the last game in the series for obvious reasons. And what to say? Having replayed it now after 4 years of not touching it, because I did play it the first time in 2020 during the COVID lockdowns, if I remember correctly. And I do remember enjoying it overall. Now, fast forward 4 years later, more or less, I have to say I don't. I haven't enjoyed it as I did before. It's a very tedious game. The perfect example of what not to do to improve the series, but actually to make it worse, because they took a series that was pretty much proven. The series was proven already. It worked because they had two games that were relatively well received. Like they were not considered masterpiece in the consensus, the overall consensus, but from what I have seen, they were highly regarded as good games overall from both people and critics. But with the third game, I don't know what happened. I haven't followed the development. But with the third game, they decided to throw everything away and jump on the open world bandwagon, if you want to say that, because they pretty much opened up their game structure to allow for bigger maps in their levels. So you find yourself exploring way bigger environments compared to the previous two games that were mostly linear, with some sprinkle of freedom here and there. But here, no, they just give you some maps that are quite big and full of nothing for the most part, and other levels instead that are more similar to the classic metros, which in my opinion are the ones that work better overall. Because this game commits the cardinal sin of making exploration tedious. So it just like your average modern AAA game, except this is clearly not a AAA game, because the team who made this game clearly was not equipped for this kind of jump in scope. You can tell also by the fact that the previous two games were quite buggy despite being despite being pretty much linear. But now here the problems that were in the previous games are amplified tenfold, and also, in my opinion, the gameplay overall has taken a big hit in terms of engagement, because the gameplay is just not as fun as it used to be. They went all in on the open world aspect, like I said, but also all in the simulation aspect, which is actually, I think, the worst part of it all, because it makes the game tedious to play. So the exploration is tedious, the gameplay is tedious, because everything has to be realistic. So there's even like inertia when you move. Like the character just doesn't feel good when you move. When you run, it just feels stiff as fuck. While before the movements and everything, the shooting felt very arcadey overall. Here, no, it just everything has a weight to it. I don't know if you ever played Arma, the Arma series, Arma 2 mostly, because that's the only one I played. But the movement in this game feels like the movement in Arma 2, so it's very heavy, feels very heavy, janky as fuck. The shooting as well as seen as an overall now it's just more heavy in its movement when you aim and all. Also, probably due to the fact that the the controller presets suck ass in this game. They're all horrible. This game is definitely not made with controller in mind, even though it was developed for consoles. There is not a single preset with controller that feels good to play. So if you can play it with mouse and keyboard, absolutely, because it's a chore to play with the gamepad. And so, like, yeah, I'm starting pretty negative because honestly, I've had a pretty negative impression by replaying this. It's not fun overall. It's still engaging if you like the universe and the story, which I mean I'm gonna get into in the later section of the video. But overall, is a big disappointment because they clearly didn't have an understanding for what made for a good game overall in terms of fun, engagement, design. There's multiple conflicting ideologies, ideas. Like, for example, the fact that they added stamina. The previous games did not have stamina. You could run whatever how much you wanted. Here, no, they give you overall in some levels bigger maps to explore, but they also give you stamina, so you can't run as much as you could in the previous games, despite having bigger levels to explore. How does this make sense? Why do they have? Why did they have to go full in on the whole simulation aspect? It's just I don't understand. Like, the gameplay was fine in that sense. It was fun, fast, arcadey. But here, no, it's the opposite. Everything is slow and jarring. Plus, well, there are like the exploration is just not fun because, for example, in the first map, there's water because you're in an area there where there's I don't remember if it's the sea or a river, but the map is split in. Actually, I think it's the sea because there is a bunch of little islands in that section of the game. So yeah, there's the sea, and the game gives you a boat, kind of like the Resident Evil 4 one, except in the boat in this game you have to row, so manually, and the boat goes slow as hell due to that. So you find yourself having to row in that fucking boat that's janky as hell. And while you do that, to move around the little archipelagos, there's enemies that throw shots at you with their mouths because they spit at you. They are the shrimps that were also in Last Light. Those same annoying sea creatures, shrimps, how they're called. And yeah, that makes the exploration of that first map very tedious. There's actually only two big maps in the game, but they feel longer than they actually are because there's just so much of nothing to explore and go around. In the second one, you use actually a car, a shitty like van to go to drive around and explore, which is also very annoying because it's slow as fuck and janky, with a relatively realistic driving model. Like, who the fuck wants this? I didn't. I sure didn't. Okay, I'm fine with the bigger levels to explore, but make it fun. Make the map interesting to explore. Don't make it empty for the most part. The maps are just uninteresting to explore, in my opinion. They clearly weren't very inspired because the levels in the open in the previous games are much better than the ones in this one. It's just like they had to throw in the game a certain type of level, because there is also like the Mad Max level, which is the second big map in this game. So it's like they had to throw in some stereotypes of levels to fill a quota. It's weird. I just know that they are not interesting. The big maps, which are two, like I said, are just not interesting to explore for the most part. The other levels are mostly linear. Like the second level is linear, just like the classic metro levels. And then there's the third one, which is a mix, because it's mostly linear, but it's also slightly bigger than an old classic metro level. So it's a nice in between. I actually wish more levels were like that one, the forest, the taiga. And then there's the last level, which is mostly linear. So just like the old metro levels. Which, funnily enough, it takes place inside the metro, just in another city, not in Moscow, but in another Russian city, but still underground. Which, funnily enough, is probably the best level in the game, in my opinion. The problem, also, when it comes to the levels and everything, is that a lot of the creatures are not fun to fight, because the level not the level, the hit detections on the creatures is messed up. Sometimes you just don't hit it. You just don't hit enemies for whatever reason. I don't know why. This game is very janky, very unpolished overall, very buggy. Like the definition of jank. The previous ones were as well, but this is worse due to the fact that the environments are bigger. So it's easier for bugs to go unnoticed, and of course, yeah, you're gonna get fucked by bugs if you're unlucky. That was not my case, but like I said, it's different. It just feels different, and it feels worse overall compared to the other metros. Slow, janky, boring. It's a chore for the most part to get through the more open levels. Honestly, I would have been fine even with just more levels like the marsh yard in Last Light. So those types of levels, more open levels, just slightly bit bigger, which is kind of like the forest in Exodus. But no, those two levels, the first and the third one, I don't know, they are just boring, because in the first one you have to go to onto the islands with the fucking boat, and in the third one you have to drive around with a shitty van. So they're just not fun, in my opinion. And the game also has not much variety in terms of levels, because, like I said, there's just 4 levels. The first, which is the one with the water. The second, which is underground in a linear space. The third one is the desert, the Mad Max type of level. The fourth one is the forest, and actually, yeah, the fifth one, not 4, 5 levels. The fifth one is the one in the metro, and the last one. So overall, it's a regression in most aspects. Even when it comes to the designs of the creatures, I don't like them. I don't like how they look in this game. They've also added a couple more creatures that I don't know. They are I just don't like the design in this game. The human characters, of course, look better, more realistic, but I don't like the creatures, except for the blind ones, which are very similar to the librarians, but they are different types of creatures. There are big gorillas, big mutated gorillas that have no eyes and use telepathy to communicate. So they are very creepy and look pretty strong and are very strong, just like the librarians. Also, the dub is worse in this game. Like the characters just never shut the fuck up. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with this one. They just don't shut the fuck up. They keep talking and talking. I don't care about what you have to say, for the most part. It's very mind-boggling in this aspect. I don't know what the hell they were smoking. So I will just say that everything feels worse compared to the previous games, which I know is a big statement to make, but I just think that's how it is. I just don't like how this game feels to play overall. It's just so too slow. Even in the small things like picking up objects, picking up scraps, because of course this game has crafting. Since it has open world elements, it has to have crafting, of course. So you have to craft everything for the most part. You can find stuff around, lying around, but for the most part you'll find yourself crafting. Especially the medikits. Medikits, you almost always have to craft them, which is kind of annoying, honestly. The previous games felt more unique, while this one feels like the devs wanted to standardize it to the level of other games of that period of time, and it just felt like they didn't want to continue keep making what Metro was before and what made it special, but no, they just wanted to make the next I don't know, open world game, or at least try, but they clearly fail miserably. So now with this just out of the way, with everything being worse and feeling worse, even picking up objects is tedious. When you pick up resources, you have to keep the button pressed. When you enter the boat, you have to keep the button pressed. When you enter the car, you have to keep the button pressed. And every time you have to see the animation of you entering the boat, of you entering the car. This is what makes the traversal, what the exploration tedious in these games. Just make me fucking enter the vehicle by pressing once, without forcing me to watch the animation every single time. It's just tedious. It's tedious. Exploring in this game is tedious. So, when it comes to the stealth, for example, instead, it's only marginally better because they added the option for you to throw like objects around to distract enemies and to lure them where you want to. But the problem is that the AI feels too good. Like, for example, if you are even slightly in the light, in the open, the enemies can immediately see you and start immediately shooting you. At least on hardcore. But I just think that the AI, when it comes to spotting you, is too good. It's just too good, too strong. In the previous one, it felt better in a sense because it felt more balanced with your capabilities. But here, your capabilities are pretty much still the same, except the AI is much stronger. And yeah, there's some sort of day and night cycle in the open world stages, because you can rest at some safe houses, so you can sleep there, and you can cycle between night and day. Depending on the time of the day, there are either different enemies on the map or different creatures. So, but honestly, it's I don't know. It's an interesting idea, but it's just pick your poison. Both creatures or human enemies are annoying to deal with. So just pick whatever you can stomach to take on, given the time of day. So if you prefer to fight human enemies, go out in the day. If you prefer to fight creatures, go out in the night, because for the most part that's how it works. Not always, but that's mostly how it works. Like I said, with this out of the way, let's move on to the other aspects, which, I mean, there's not much else to talk about, but I'll talk about the story and the characters overall. So now, to talk about the story and everything else, like I did mention in my first video about Metro 2033, the story in Metro Exodus pretty much makes tabula rasa of everything that came before, because it implies implicitly or explicitly, I'll leave you the interpretation, that almost everything that you've done in the previous two games was sort of pointless, because you could have just left, like the characters do. You will just left the metro because everything was a ruse. Everything was a ruse. Now, the things I'm about to say are things that happen at the beginning of the game, so it's not like I'm spoiling something that comes later. But there will be a few spoilers here and there, but I don't know. I'll tell you when they are, so you can skip that portion if you want. So, like I was saying, it turns out that everything was a lie. Like, the war was in fact not over. Not everybody on the surface was dead. And yeah, you get to know this at the beginning of the game, because Artyom is obsessed with finding other people alive on the surface. And he just like tries to intercept other radio frequencies every now and then. So that and he stumbles, he and Anna, which she is now his wife, stumble upon a train, a moving train, and one thing leads to the next, and it turns out that there was some kind of a shadow patrol or like a small group of people from Hansa, I think, that were keeping up the charade, because according to them, they say that since the war is not over yet, there are supposed occupation forces in the near territories that can hear you if you talk on the radio. So that's why they were trying to keep everybody underground with the lie of that everybody was dead. That's the official excuse. But during the game, you never meet these occupation forces, so it's possible that everything was just a lie to keep everybody in check and easily controllable. I don't know, honestly. But yeah, that's how the game starts pretty much. You discover this train, you rob the train, you actually steal the train, and you and the gang, so a few other Spartans and Miller, escape from from Moscow because you're now branded as traitors. Because that thing was supposed to be kept secret. But now, since you're not willing to keep the secret, you're considered traitors. And that's pretty much the big event I was talking about in the first video, where I said almost everything you didn't matter because you could have just left the metro. That was it. I don't know what prompted the writers or the writer of the book, if the story is taken from the book, to go this route, but it's kind of a dumb twist, honestly, because how is it possible that nobody noticed before? Yeah, I know the people doing this were killing all the witnesses, but I don't know, it just feels like it's very forced that nobody ever was able to sneak past them and tell everybody about this thing. But yeah, whatever. The game story is pretty much this. Nothing really happens. There are no stakes because you find yourself moving from a new area to another area to see if there's a place that's habitable, and you find yourself in every level trying to help the people in need that are there, or fending off the various bandits or criminals that you meet. That's pretty much the whole game. There is no real threat in this game, and constant threat that looms all over the story, like in the previous games. Like in the first one was the dark ones, and in the second one was the communists that were trying to wage war and kill people to take control over the metro. So there's nothing like this here. There's no overarching narrative. The only times you start feeling there's some kind of stakes is when Anna will start to get sick. Yeah, this is kind of a spoiler, so if you want to skip a little bit, but it's not really. That's something that unexpected. This also happens at the beginning of the game, but you get to know it properly later on. Anna is sick and you'll have to find a cure for her. So that becomes the focus of the game for the last couple of levels, let's say. So overall, the story is kind of weak, honestly. It's the weakest in the trilogy. And also, due to this fact that you're not in the metro anymore, the whole system with the bullets, with the military bullets being currency, is no more, because all over the world, in other places other than the metro, they're not gonna accept the bullets as payment. So yeah, that's another mechanic that's gone. But other than that, this is it, in the sense that the story is this one. It's kind of underwhelming. The only like very atmospheric level is the last one, because it really feels like you're going through hell to help Hannah, and I like it, because I mean, you're his her husband, so of course you will do that. And something very emotional happens at the end. I'm not gonna spoil it, but yeah, it's definitely something. Not much happens during the rest of the game, unless you play badly and you let some of your comrades die. But other than that, it's nothing really bad happens if you play correctly, which seemed to be very, very easy, because I've done 2 playthroughs on hardcore and I've never had anyone die on me. And also, I've always got the good ending on both playthroughs. You only to get a good ending in this game, you only need to help people, like to free slaves and save the people from cages. for the most part. It's very easy. This is probably the easiest game in the trilogy to get a good ending. So in that aspect, it's no complaints, because I prefer if the good ending is easier to get, because the bad ending sucks in this game as well. As far as the characters, so multiple characters. As far as the characters go, there are a few ones that are new. I don't think you ever seen them before in the other games, but they are all technically Spartans, so they were already part of the order. And so you can say the only three recurring characters are returning characters from the previous games are Miller, Artyom, and Anna. And Anna becomes in this game your proper trad waifu, I guess you can say, because she acts very. She's very trad. I mean, I guess what you can expect a tomboyish trad waifu to be. And like I said before in the Metro Last Light video, I think she's a good female character. She is one of the few good female characters written in the last few years, probably, because she manages to be strong but still retain her femininity, which I think is what makes for a good female character. So not that marries you, or like that acts too masculine, or obnoxious, or a boss girl, or anything like that. In this game, she's your ideal waifu, I guess you can say. And it's an incentive more to help her, like to save her at the end of the game. So now, to conclude, I think I've mentioned the most important aspects when it comes to the game, what I like and what I don't like. Do I think this is a bad game? No, not at all. This is overall still a very decent game. It can be enjoyable. The problem I have with it is that it's too slow. It just embodies the worst aspects of games going open world, with slow movement, slow exploration, too much focus on the simulation aspect, while the previous games were a bit more on the arcade side when it came to the movement and the aiming and the jumping and whatever. I definitely prefer the feel of the older games. This one feels too stiff, too slow, but it still is enjoyable. Even in terms of story, it can be enjoyable, even though not as good as the previous ones. Like, if you enjoyed the other two, if you have played the other two, I definitely suggest playing this, because also you can find it for very cheap. So I mean, you might as well play it. It's not a bad game, but I don't think it's for everybody. It's possible that you may not like it if you enjoyed the previous two games. So beware. Oh, and also another thing, they sort of recycle the bear boss from Last Light, which is kind of lame, honestly. Like, come on, you already done that. Find something else to use as boss. It comes off as very uninspired, honestly. This game comes off as very uninspired for some reason. It's a mishmash of wrong decisions, uninspired story, uninspired enemies, and yeah. Now, when it comes to the Metro series overall, I don't know how this game did. It's possible that it may have flopped, because it's been 6 years since the release of this game, and I don't think they are working on a sequel to this game. I know a VR Metro game came out not too long ago, but I don't know what it is about, honestly. So, to me, there is no sequel yet to this game. So it's possible it may have flopped. I mean, technically, going by the ending, you will say the series could technically even finish here because it's an open ending. But I don't know. I would like another game to see how, I don't know, how the story, the characters progress. So hopefully, eventually, they make one. But for now, we'll have to just enjoy these 3 games. So as usual, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you played this one, if you liked it, and everything else. So thank you for watching. Next game I'm playing, I'm gonna make the next video probably about it. I'm not gonna spoil it yet, but also I'm probably gonna play Kingdom Come since the sequel came out, and it's pretty woke. But I'll play the first one since it's definitely the better game. So as usual, subscribe, like, comment, and all that stuff, and I'll catch you soon. Bye bye, guys. Have a good weekend.